call to order the
I see it trending up.
legislative committee meeting, 5:30. First on the agenda, we have Representative Warren here today and myself, co-chair Commissioner Ison. First thing on the agenda is minutes of June 7th. Do you have anything, clarity, like you? All right, we'll put that in the books. Second, we have committee appointments and updates. Got appointment to the Public Safety and Parks and Recreation Committee, CF Jones. Mr. Jones, you have a few words you want to say? Come up, step up, please. Good to have you back. God bless you.
Thank you.
I appreciate, I appreciate everything, but I will have to humbly decline. I showed up here today to let you know in person as opposed to writing in a statement. Due to recent medical concerns, declined the appointment to further notice. Or when I maybe resubmit whatever I want. Be interested.
Man. I'm glad you showed up, though it showed you that you have still a passion. I hope everything's all right. You know, so how long you think you'll be? Well, I want you to be well, you know, but how long you think?
Not sure.
Oh man,
Not sure.
I was excited too. I was excited to get you. Clerk Moore, how many do we have on the just on the public
reps?
Yeah,
None.
Just we have nobody. Just
And I just received another application today.
oh yeah.
So that'll go next month if that gets approved.
Okay. Well, any questions you want to ask?
No, but hopefully you get better and you come back soon, so thank you.
Commissioner Henry, Miss CF Jones he's declining his appointment because of health issues. So we really wanted him on that.
I'm sorry to hear that, yeah.
committee. So, I guess we accept that. I'm sure you talked to the clerk already.
It's okay. We hold applications for, I think it's 2 years.
2 years?
Yeah.
Okay, good then. Thank you. Hope you'll be able to come back and join the Public Safety and Rec Committee.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have the update on the responsible contracting policy. I know I hope we've been using this in our, I know we've been getting a lot of contracts, subcontractors, city manager, wait for you to sit back down.
I can speak a little bit on this.
Okay.
The attorney did review it,
Uh-huh.
and he said that it is very consistent with the other municipalities that use it.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted me to ask if anybody had any questions or changes to submit those, and he would look those over. And that the committee just would really need to decide if they want to move forward with this, if they want it to be a policy or an ordinance.
Okay. So
Can staff please explain to us the difference of actions from policy or ordinance?
I can. So an ordinance is more set in stone, harder to make changes on. A policy can be a little bit more flexible. If you see something that just isn't working and we want to change it, it's much easier to change than an ordinance is. So that's like the biggest between the two, the biggest difference between the two.
So,
If I might,
Director Little?
what is it that this would require that a current process doesn't do?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
What's
everything you said.
can you get some clarity? What's the process now in this in the contracting?
Right, and what's different about this from what the city currently does?
Well, currently the city takes the lowest bidder, pretty much
Mhm.
no matter what. This also gives the contractors more responsibility. It also allows residents to get gainfully employed. And the state of Michigan has been working diligently to fund apprenticeship programs, and a lot of this money has been funded down, and we don't see a lot of social equity in their programs, because in the scheme of America, us Black Americans are not getting those positions or jobs, and we have to open up doors to make sure that it's a fair and a trainable, and that's the key, that we're gonna get quality work and our residents are gonna be trained and have a sustainable career.
Mhm.
If I may, one other comment I remember during the conversation about this was that there were a couple of specific projects that they brought up saying that, essentially as if like, oh, we hired the lowest bidder, but they didn't do quality work. So they were saying if this project was in another city, the work would have been done correctly.
Mhm.
I think you were here, city manager. I don't know if you remember it was a specific street example that someone brought up saying that the work was not quality and that it had to be done in a two-part process. So that was just another concern that someone had, is that are we getting quality work done?
I remember that statement being made, but it was made in complete absence of anything to justify, support what was being said.
Mhm.
Just somebody shooting from the hip. And when I went through and looked at this, the concern that I had was that, first off, there's some assumptions being made.
Mhm.
When we're talking about, for example, apprenticeship and workers being hired, we're assuming there's some people available and they're just not being given an opportunity.
Mhm.
That's not the case. I mean, we've got I keep saying this to the commission. Our problem is not opportunities for workers.
Mhm.
We don't have the workers. You got job announcements open all over the place, and we can't find them. The Dawson out there is closing because they can't find workers.
Mhm.
Javis is calling us, asking us, please, help us to find people to fill these jobs, all kinds of jobs. There's a job crisis right now, in not only here, across this country. We don't want to put ourselves in a position where all of a sudden you can't get anything done because you can't meet your own requirements.
Mhm.
And that is a real danger. We went through that with this lead line thing. I've said it before and I'll say it again.
Mhm.
We worked our butts off, and Michigan Works and everybody else come up with something like 192 people's names to work on that project. A lot of these people got hired on that project,
Mhm.
but they worked so many weeks and then they disappeared. Now, the way I first heard it, oh, they're mistreating our people and they're doing this and they're doing, no, that's not what happened. Many of those people are on one form or another of disability, and they're only allowed to make so much money, or they get cut off. And when they get cut off, there goes the SNAP benefits and everything else. The people did just like you, or anybody else would do, and do what's in their best interest.
Mhm.
They made a little extra money while they could, and then they got off before they hit the limit. We want people to work.
Right, right.
We wish we had more people to work. We wouldn't be losing Dawson's every day.
Mhm.
We got the same problem when we're talking with other companies about coming here. I'm hearing everywhere, problems with getting workers. Do you have workers? Our answer is no. You can't lie to them.
So with that being said, what policy do we use now for this? When we get a contract, what's the policy now? I know this is not in place yet, right? So what policy do we use now that we can attract? Do we make sure that the local residents got a chance to get hired? Do we have some kind of policy now that 25%?
Let's say 25%.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, Alex said a key word, a few key words that you have to keep in mind. When we get bids and go out for bidding, we have a certain time limit to do things too.
Mm-hmm.
Are we gonna stop doing work because people won't apply? I mean, he's not kidding when he tells you about what's going on with the unemployment around the nation.
I believe.
It is tough
It is.
right now, and especially with so many people having their services threatened when they make too much money.
So
And when it comes to local contractors, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of local black contractors here. But I made a special effort to go out and talk to one that I know that does outstanding work in concrete. I read the moment, I can't call the gentleman's name, but he told me, in fact, I even talked to him. I said, would you consider setting up a training program and operating it for us if we could produce the funding to pay for it, to teach young people here in the residents in the city how to set up concrete forms, how to do the preparation before, tamping the ground underneath, putting the proper concrete, finishing it, hardening it, all that stuff. He said, Alex, I wish I could tell you yes, but don't waste your money. He says, I have been trying my best for the last several years to hire people and to train people in the city. He said, I can't even, I'm talking about paying them $20 an hour. I can't even get my son to come work. And I know you've heard it before, so you know what I'm talking about. He says, we just can't get them.
Go ahead, Representative.
I just wish that, like, I know when we discussed this last month, I think it was, the conversation, it was so lengthy about meaning, utilizing our population for working. And I feel like I wish that this information would have been, like, we could have had it then, because, we spent so much time on this, and now that we're hearing your point of view, does it even really make sense to discuss at this present time in this climate? Like, maybe next year the climate will be different, and maybe it will be quite important. But if we know we're having trouble getting workers, and it's not only Benson Harbor, like you mentioned, it's throughout the nation,
Right.
to spend so much time discussing something that's not really even relevant to the present time. I just hope we could fix, but we're not kind of going in circles discussing something that's not relevant over and over again.
Well, that's
You
not,
mentioned something else that we also keep ignoring. That is a fact. The census says Benton Harbor has 9,107 people. It says 36% of those people are aged 19 and under. Okay. It says 20% of the people are 65 and up, all the way up to the 90s, not working age people. They're not part of the workforce. It says also that of the remaining people out of that 9,107 that would typically be in your working age group, it says of those, 20% of this 9,107 are either physically, mentally, emotionally, drug or alcohol rated as being handicapped, which again means not in the workforce.
Hmm.
And once again, there's another factor that goes with it. Being handicapped typically also means they're on one form or another of these subsistence programs.
Mhm.
Even if they have the ability to do a limited amount of physical work,
Right.
believe me, they're not going to jeopardize those benefits. I wouldn't, you wouldn't. So what have you got left? Of what you have left are people who probably in large part are doing work somewhere right now,
Mhm.
either over in St. Joe, among those businesses there, here in the community with the different places that are hiring, between school district, LMC, Whirlpool, or other places.
Mhm.
So you don't have, and I can't overemphasize this, you do not have a pool of eligible working people. That's why we need to get housing in here in the worst way
Mhm.
so that we can get working people in the community.
Commissioner Henry.
I beg to disagree with this.
Okay.
First of all, I won't trust the census at all. Because we already know our people did not let them know that Cousin Willie was in the basement. We don't tell everything like that. So I don't trust that. And those statistics might be close. And it might be true. But something has to change. So now you got 49% of the people that are living in poverty. And if everybody knows, we know who those people are. Getting a disability check, food stamps and Medicare
Mhm.
out of necessity. Benton Harbor has not had a hiring group. Yeah. Atlantic Automotive came in, and as soon as they sold the building, it became a hellhole. Everybody over there is crying the same blues for the last 10 years since Jacob's been there. There is no Whirlpool don't hire but the cream of the crop. Who else did you say? Lakeland. Get a training. There's a lot of people working at Lakeland because they were trained.
Mhm.
Union work. You get to train and go and use that training all over the world. And the things that we need here in this little small 4.5 miles should come out of those trained individuals. Yes, we need to pay attention to what our people need. And if it's training, if the state of Michigan, this is the second term, they've been trying to push apprenticeship. And if they can't get it done,
Mhm.
then we need to make sure that the unions are standing by their words. And they have gotten in the fray with the state and said, we recognize, just like Whirlpool, we recognize what we did to you poor people, black people, brown people. And they're saying that they're going to fix it. The state of Michigan changed the rules about unions. We can have a right to work
Right.
and petition for a union without any retaliation. Things are changed, has changed, This is not 1980 anymore. This is 2023, 24.
I like to agree with one thing.
I'm not finished. I let you finish and say everything you wanted to say. So all of this is a change, and that's what we've been looking for. And that's what we have to do as elected officials when the opportunities arise. All over the Michigan, they have thrown out the right to vote, the right to work thing. So let's stay in accord to what the future is gonna bring. For those young people that he was talking about, 19, in 2 years, where will they be? Will they be leaving town trying to find a job somewhere in South Bend, Indianapolis? We need to do this. We need to take care of this right now. It's not something that's obsolete. This is something that everybody that works, that don't own a corporation, needs.
You're right, Jalil.
I was going to say that one comment that she made was she's accurate about is that training the workers who have skills and get jobs, unfortunately, have left the community and gone elsewhere. They do that because there's no place here for them to live. When they get to where they can afford to make a regular rent payment or a regular house payment, they go somewhere where they can find a home.
Point of order, Chair.
That's like what
We're
they
not
like.
talking about housing.
The
We're
other,
talking about
Let him finish.
money. We're not talking about housing. So you can bring down all that housing
and when
stuff
we
here that you
talk
want.
about an apprentice, and when we talk about an apprenticeship program, that is just a job, just like any other job, with the one difference being that a certain period of time you're paid at one level and receive a certain amount of training. And then the next period of time, you get a little bit higher pay with more training that goes with the ultimate goal of once you achieve what's called journeyman status. I've worked with apprenticeship programs for 52 years, all right? When they get to the status where they are considered journeymen, then they are employable workers who, once again, there has to be a job. What a lot of people keep confusing, unions do not hire workers. Unions have a contract with employers who hire workers who become part of their union. They still gotta have a place to live.
Build it,
If you're
and they
going
will
to keep
come.
Because if they don't, you're unemployed. You get trained and hire 100 people through an apprenticeship program and have them ready to go. And the next day, you haven't changed unemployment, not by 0.1% if they all leave the community.
I'll make this last comment out of pure knowledge. When I was an apprenticeship, I had bought me a house and I lived in it. So that is not true. You get a job and you love your community, you stay here or you come back here. So that's what, and to come back here, we need housing. But we ain't talking about housing. We talking about an opportunity to make Benton Harbor residents employable and to live a good life.
Right.
And yes, we will hire and make sure that the unions do what they say they're gonna do.
Representative Warren.
I just have one somewhat question. So in this document, point 5, it has on here social equity. My question is, we want to do 10%. In the event that a contractor cannot, because of, just say, in this circumstance where Mr. Little said it happens to be 100% accurate. So if a contractor cannot find 10%, Or is there, like, what is it, is there gonna be a contingency? I mean, because going back to it, we wouldn't want the work not to be done, but just saying a specific case, they have books,
Mhm.
and maybe Jimmy from the basement did not apply, what are we going to do if they cannot find? And this could be, you could have 100 projects, this could be 5, I don't know how many it's gonna be.
Union, they have a group of people, and that's what makes it great. They have a whole slew of skilled people to do all work that's in their realm.
But so you're saying that in this case, they will be able to not pull from the community if they couldn't find it?
Of course. Because when I left and went to Detroit to work, I wasn't from Detroit. I was from Benton Harbor. But when I come back home, I brought my check back home to Benton Harbor. That's what happened. And right now, we only have pre-apprenticeship programs. And that just drives me nuts. So we have to, and what did you say that one place you said point?
Yes, so it's under, it's on page 6, if you have it here. It's 0.5, and it just says up here, social equity 10%.
Okay, I'll have to look at that a little closer. I did look at it, and conservatively, what I've
I was
seen
just
was,
saying percentage drawn significantly from area residents. So the question was just essentially saying, what if in a circumstance they could not draw enough people from the area? Well, we're gonna put something in here saying, if you have exhausted your options and you have tried to draw people in this particular project, you can't, then can you pull, like you said, from your other sources of other areas? So that's just kind of my question.
yeah, that's basically what happens when they get a contract and they put their best people on the job and they use that as a training opportunity for other people. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's the way it works. And
So we don't find the qualified people here, then go outside, it's up to the contractor, go outside the community to look.
that's
Fill
what
those
unions
positions.
usually do. But I guarantee you, if you offer some of these 19 or 20-year-olds an opportunity to make $25 an hour, I mean,
I know.
$15 an hour. I've seen them turn them down $20 an hour. But that's just the time we're talking about a whole new generation, Generation X or whatever they call it. There's a whole new generation, and they're not working like our grandparents or us.
So is this policy comparable to the one with the 25% in it?
This is different than you mean the
Okay.
one
So
for our
that one will be in
resolution?
place, both can be in place, right?
Yeah, that'll make us have three initiatives to get our people employed and working.
All right.
And that's the 25% and the contractors.
Mhm.
They seem to lean towards that now because of Mr. Meeks.
Right.
They use him as a subcontractor, and thank God he does reach out and hire Benton Harbor residents. So then the section 3, if we find a way to utilize that money, we can have people trained for stem cell, anything that we want
All right.
through section 3. And then if this comes through, and we're hiring bona fide union contractors
Mhm.
with the promise that we're gonna get trained, that's a win-win situation for us.
Are you all familiar with what section 3 is?
Pardon me?
Are you familiar with what
Could you give
section
us some clarity?
3 is?
Update us on that.
Section 3 is a provision in the HUD regulation. That any HUD-sponsored project that's over $200,000, that we have to require the contractors to demonstrate that they've made every effort to hire local residents to work in these projects.
Okay.
And we have been doing that and really trying to hold people's feet to the fire on it. They're still having big problems of being able to do it. As a matter of fact, when I mentioned the 192 people that their names we came up with for the lead line project, what I failed to say is that after our best efforts in trying to get as many people as we could from here in the city of Benton Harbor, we opened it up to township residents too, because we knew there would be more Black working people that would possibly take advantage in the township than there would be in the city. Unfortunately, the problem we had here extended out there too.
I wonder why.
Right. Just, Clerk Moore, just attorney.
And the other thing is, we have a misunderstanding about unions. Our friend Ray that was here that passed away,
Yeah.
I was gonna have him explain that so that people would maybe believe it coming from him. Unions don't hire employees except to work for the union itself. The employers hire. They have a contract with the union that they will hire union workers. And typically what happens is, especially with labor unions, they have a listing of people who have their union card that are qualified people. They go down that list in seniority order to bring their people in. And some of them have gotten where they amended a bit to where they make sure that they got enough of their regular people who can kind of help serve as lead workers and so forth. And then they'll try to pick up some other people to meet requirements like Section 8, that kind of thing. But it's the employers that do the hiring. And they don't really care who they hire or who the union brings in, as long as they can get their work done. The problem isn't because the employer is unwilling or that the union is unwilling. They're not available.
Who's not available?
Workers.
Workers.
From Benton Harbor that either want to be trained and are willing to make a long-term commitment to do this for 3 or 4 years until they become a journeyman. You don't get union trained in 3 months. It's a step process that goes over years. I've worked with apprentices in the U.S. Department of Labor many years. I know how it works. But I'm just saying, and I'm not arguing against what the Commissioner is saying. I'm 100% for it. I'm just saying we don't have the ingredients.
Clerk
What
Moore.
ingredients are we missing? We got
People who
you
actually
saying
are
people,
willing.
and I don't agree with your select that Benton Harbor people. I think that there's some problems here. If we sit in a community that's been poor and low to moderate income for years and nobody's done anything about it, it's time to stop doing nothing and do something.
Right.
There's a reason why Benton Harbor is the way it is. The people are the way they are. They're not like this because they came out the womb like this.
No.
No.
Right.
No. So we need to do something to help.
Right. I understand.
So now, if the unions are, and they're not perfect.
Right.
Because I worked in some unions, they didn't have any blacks. But they have opened their eyes, like Whirlpool just said. We recognize what we've done to you blacks and poors. Now we're going to do something better.
Right.
We have to hold their feet to the fire. And if we put something in writing, that this is what we want, and this is what we desire, and that, yeah, we got Section 3, but if we pulled out, the last thing Section 3 says that if they didn't do what they were supposed to do, their last drawdown belongs to us to train our people.
Section 3 is for HUD.
I know that, but where did the money come from from ARPA? Did it come from the federal government?
Yeah.
Where did the money come from? All of this stimulus money, federal money.
Go ahead, Mr. Jones.
If I may weigh in, you guys present valid points, but as officials, elected officials, we need to do our research.
Right.
And really research what it is that we need here, right? Some of the things we've talked about in the past hasn't been done. What he's mentioning as far as those people who are working out there for a short period of time, they have to be a certain age and over to collect so much. But those that's below that age only have a certain amount of time to work. So within a year or two, no, actually 18 months, I think it is. And after that, they cut off. They got to go back over the whole process, right? That's why you see some of those peoples out here selling on cell phones for, they get $1.50 or $2, and they count that as income. They don't know that because nobody telling them that, right? So once they get cut off those services, they back to square one. There's a chance they may not get those services. Most of them sit on the services because they can't find work around here. I'm thinking back to earlier when the conversation was speaking on the difference between policy and ordinance.
Right.
Again, we need to be well researched in what we're trying to do. Dealing with a union is a different type of beast. That's something you got to be on top of if you're dealing with it. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not saying they're exponentially great, but you got to know what you're dealing with when you're dealing with the union. Because if you're not following what's being said and really have something strong to hold them forward, it's not going to work anyway. So since you got a low pool of people to pull from, what do? It's easy to say you're going to train them, but if that kid that's 18, 19, 20 years old, able to get a 6-figure job over in South Bend or further, just because he have a high school diploma, because everything is low out here, he's not going to come in here for 20 grand. He's not going to come in for 30 grand. He already guaranteed a 6-figure. So what you need to do is go back to the drawing board. And if you really want to help out your community, you need to really do an assessment to find out what it is that they need, what you need to make it happen. Because it don't make sense to have a job if you want a place to live. There's plenty of people that's working that's across the border now. They don't move. I know a few that moved to Texas. And a few that's here, I can't say they stuck, but we're not addressing their needs either. So if we got Uncle Willie in the basement, who's helping them but the family upstairs, if that? And the census collect data from everything. Not just because they knock on your door, they collect data from everything. It's the feds. Point blank. So what you're doing is you're going back to square one and find out that's the needs that you have, that you need to have in your community. You need to listen to them to see what it is that you really need.
That's right.
You know, it's lovely to give them a job, but if they have a place to stay, or they have a place to stay and able to keep it up, because those little stipend jobs are not worth it. And we mentioned about journeyman. A lot of people not going to sponsor you around here. They already got their own people in play. They may give you a little here work here and there, but you got to travel somewhere else to really get a chance. You see a lot of people doing trucking, they going somewhere else. CDLs, they want quick CDLs, they go downtown. But once upon a time, you couldn't get your CDLs. And if you're talking about the gentleman I think you're talking about with the concrete,
Yes.
let me tell you, he'd do it by himself.
Yeah.
There was an old gentleman that really taught him, his mentor. And I just saw that gentleman 2 nights ago. And I asked about the old guy.
Mm-hmm.
The old guy living with him. That old guy was out here helping him pour concrete, directing the guys how to do it.
Yeah.
He got that guy living with him. Now, how many people around here are able to do that?
It's good.
And when he's out doing work, the guy sits in a chair and watches him, you know. But you see, part of it, like he said, to understand this thing really, you need to go back and look at the history.
Mm-hmm.
When Ellis and I were here in 1984, and when I left it was about 89, Ellis left 86, 87. But anyway, you had 16,000 people. You still had a lot of employable working people here at that time. What happened since then? Your school teachers, your doctors, you had Doc Taylor and those, and Dr. Brown and those people who lived in town, they lived here and then died off and they're gone. Nobody came in to replace them. Your teachers and so forth, they live out there in the township, you know, in St. Joe Township. They're not in the city of Benton Harbor. And as those people left, two things happened. The houses that they used to live in wound up ultimately hitting the tax rolls, and somebody bought them real cheap and come in and put spackle and paste a newspaper in the wall and put them up for rent. And then as soon as a fire happened or anything else, they walked away from it and they tore the houses down. They didn't put anything back. So less and less ability to service and accommodate working class people. This whole northern region of the county has that problem now because the other houses that were in St. Joe, Stevensville, and Benton Township and St. Joe Township that working class people could afford, when they ran out of the higher price housing, the Chicago folks with money to burn bought the next level of houses. So all of a sudden, they got the same problem. They don't have housing to employ workers in either. And I'm trying to convince them that, hey, we got land, we got infrastructure, we ought to be putting these houses here. You don't have it. Folks are gonna buy a house over here and use a cesspool and what you call it. We got land with sewer, water, sidewalks, curbs, gutter, utilities, everything. But that's the process that took place. You went from 5,600 houses back in the late 80s to now about, I think they said, the census says there's 4,200, of which 770 are empty. And empty meaning either they need the fire damage, they need to be torn down, or they're no longer habitable, and that leaves you about 3,500 houses that are left to live in, of which 1,200 are owner occupied, and the remainder are renter units. And the renter units, for the most part, are Section 8 and whatnot. So the renter units, MHT with River Terrace managing the right across the street here, the building that I had done when it came back. Hope 6 and the others and whatnot, and then the Housing Commission. Between the two of them, there's probably less than 500 other houses that other people may have that they're renting out. The business that you hired me here for makes me have to know what these facts and statistics and things are. I'm in them every day. And I'm not trying to defeat or downplay. I'm with you in terms of what we want to try to accomplish. The difference is our understanding of the facts, that's all.
Thank you. Did the attorney look at this? What he said,
He said it's consistent with what other municipalities use for their.
This is what I suggest to you through the chair,
Yes.
please, sir, is let's have the union representative come back and give a full presentation to the body.
Okay.
And then we'll send that draft out to everyone.
This
And
right
if
here?
they read it, if they have any questions, if they have any, and then we'll be able to look at this in a different manner. But I can tell Mr. Little what he just explained to us, that what happened, it's called gentrification. What he explained is gentrification.
Mhm.
Do you understand that word, gentrification?
Yes.
Okay.
Gentrification refers to people being displaced.
Well,
Nobody displaced these people. They just left.
no, the city displaced them.
The city?
When they came up with the word of blight, they said, oh, the city of Ben Harbor is blighted. They went and they tore down houses that had immaculate insides and was things that could be salvaged and saved. You see all of these empty lots. Those are families that are gone from them lots. Those are people that are gone from them lots. Those people that come in and try to buy your house, buy your lot, they're the landlords. Yes, we do have a problem, and we need to fix it. It should come from the government, who we give all our money to.
And we do need to fix it.
So we do need housing. And back in the day, when I heard them first say, we don't need any more affordable housing, I spinned around in this room 10 times. And then they kept saying it. We don't need any affordable housing. I'm like, how could that be when half of our people, back in the day when I was born in Benton Harbor, there was only 2% in Benton Township of Black people.
Mhm.
Now it's 51%, and a lot of our people moved
Where
there.
they are. That's right.
That's part of the gentrification too. I ain't counting all my cousins that couldn't get a job and they all moved somewhere else. That's part of gentrification too. When the school system educates you and graduates you at a 7th grade level and you graduate, that's gentrification.
I'd like to remind us all too, that when we were here back in 84 and so forth, talk about unions, your fire union, when Tom Fogarty was heading it and Dave Lincoln was the chief and the same thing, you couldn't hardly, and you had residents here who lived here and were willing to work. You couldn't hardly get them on our own departments where we're paying the bill
Mhm.
because of the union rules.
That's why we're gonna correct them now.
All right.
Put a correction on it.
All right.
So that's my suggestion. We bring it back.
Bring it back.
I'll see if I can contact, because he's been here
What
at
you need?
least once at a committee meeting. And we'll ask him to come back to the full body if through the chair, if you
Yes.
agree, the board agrees,
Whatever it takes.
and then we'll have that opportunity to make a vote on it.
You know, that's wrong. Yeah, bring it back. What union is that? The A something? What union? You know? The LO something.
I don't
I'm
know.
just asking, you know.
All of them,
AFL maybe?
Yes.
all of them.
They're all
Any of 'em.
affiliated with AFL.
Oh,
This
okay.
was the Luna, L-I-G.
I know Luna, yeah.
Oh, that was Luna, okay.
Luna, okay.
Luna is labor, and let me blow the union horn on labor. High school, you don't have to have a high school diploma to make $25 an hour.
Yeah.
You just get in the union and learn.
It's just-
That's it.
That's it, see, that's what we.
That's it. And when I retired at being a journeyman union
Mhm.
member.
Yeah.
I was making $38 an hour. I thought I was the hot mess. So
But it paid off.
it worked.
Mhm.
So when I tried to get my brother in the carpenters union, in the electrician union, in the other union, then that's when I saw the racist stuff.
Okay.
It's still racist, but they opened their eyes like Whirlpool did and told us that they're gonna do better. And we have to hold their feet to the fire.
All right. Okay. You set that up with the union.
Thank you. I will. I'll let the clerk know and I'll let you know whenever I can do that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. We'll move on to discussion, commission policies and procedures. We've been working on this for like 3 years.
And I apologize. I had so much to do.
That's all right.
I
That's
wanna
all right.
say
we
that-
keep, we gonna keep pushing
I
it
wanna-
on there.
I want to bring it back to where it was before
What you mean?
the commission fell out with the residents.
They fell out with,
See, the commission didn't like what the residents were saying.
okay.
And so this is why this room is like this. Nobody's here.
They mad?
What, you go out there.
I've been-
No, Katie, you go out there, what they say to you. I'm no better. I'm a long-time commissioner and they say the same thing to me. So we have to do better.
Well, we're gonna keep this a discussion that's gonna be ongoing.
Thank you, sir.
Policy. All right, and that's it for today. Then I guess we're gonna adjourn and go get some of that good hot heat out there and rain, whatever's gonna happen. And thank you, Representative Warren, Director Little, City Manager, always Clerk Moore for doing a good job. We still have to do, I'm saying this, on behalf of Personnel and Finance, we gotta get Clerk Moore evaluation. She's been working diligently and she deserves I don't know, do you want to do it closed session or do you just, you can do it publicly?
Mhm.
Okay, let me set that up. Thank you, this meeting adjourned.
We really gonna go through that?
Well, we gotta give her, she gotta know how she doing.